Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, we welcome you and hope you like what you hear. Our podcast is for people that want to learn something new or make themselves a little bit better every day. So, in our episode today, we're going to talk about 5 hard truths that everyone needs to hear. So, as a way of setting this up, we were trying to think of a good example of what happens when you don't tell yourself the truth about reality. And it made us think about a below average movie that we've seen called The Long Kiss Goodnight. Gina Davis is in that movie. Samuel L. Jackson is in that movie, among others. And it's a story that follows a woman who lives a normal life. So the start to a normal life, she's got a daughter, she's got a boyfriend, except she's got amnesia. She can't remember anything that happened more than 8 years ago. So she's got about 8 years of memory. Can't remember anything before that. So as the story unfolds, it turns out that she was actually a spy in her previous life that she can't remember. And when she was almost assassinated, shot in the head, went off a cliff, blah blah blah. So she winds up with a head injury and can't remember anything when she wakes up. The only thing she remembers is her cover story. So she doesn't wake up thinking, oh, I'm a spy and I need to get back to work and blah blah blah. She wakes up thinking, oh, I'm a teacher and a just regular person from upstate New York. So she bought her own bullshit, is what it boils down to. She bought her own story that she told herself in her head. And look, it's a cheesy movie. Like, if you want to watch it, fine. You're not missing anything if you've never seen it. But it draws a really legitimate parallel to what we're talking about today. So many of us talk ourselves into stuff or buy our own bullshit instead of really facing reality, really telling ourselves the truth about our situation, and then confronting that truth and taking steps to make changes to that truth. So we tell ourselves it's not our fault when things go wrong, how the deck is stacked against us. We'll get started tomorrow. The check is in the mail. The dog ate my homework. I'll still love you in the morning. All of those things that we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better when we know the reality is different than what we're telling ourselves. And so we all need, and this is like we're included in this group, we do this to ourselves sometimes too, because we're actually pretty good at sales and we're pretty good at selling ourselves on stuff that we know is not true, but we buy it anyways because we want to buy it. And so we all need to get better at facing the reality of whatever our situation is so that we can confront that, put together a plan to change it or alter it or affect it and move to a spot that we're trying to get to. And that can be hard sometimes. We get that. But if you don't confront it, if you're not brutally honest with yourself about the reality of the world, of your situation, you can't make it any better because you're kind of pissing against the wind. You're barking up the wrong tree. Whatever analogy you want to use, you are wasting time and effort because you're not actually confronting the things that are dragging you down or holding you back. And so what we've got here are 5 truths that we can kind of repeat to ourselves to remind ourselves, hey, let's live in reality here. Let's look at the situation eyes wide open. Let's be clear about it. And let's be honest with ourselves so that we can confront the things in our life that are causing us friction. And so with that, let's kind of jump into the 5 truths and talk a little bit about each one. So the first truth is you have control over your reaction to things when they happen. And that one isn't fun for people to admit sometimes. We've talked about it before on the channel. I have a pretty quick temper. I'm a kind of a hothead by nature. So left to my own devices and without the coping skills and training and systems that I've put in place to manage those things, the internal things I tell myself, by nature, I'm very reactive. And I have control over that. And that's something that I've worked hard at getting better at it, much better at it now than I was previously. And I've got a ways to go. Like, everyone can always improve. You don't ever get to cross the goal line and spike the football and do a touchdown dance. That's just not how it works. You're kind of constantly working on yourself. So if you get nervous and you shrink in situations, that can be problematic. If you get angry, like my example, and you cause situations to get worse because you don't control your temper, that can be problematic. It may make you procrastinate. It may make you drink. It may make you avoid, none of which are good. And so we have to tell ourselves all the time, I have control over how I'm reacting to this. not a victim, and we'll get to that one next because that one all in of itself is something you need to tell yourself over and over again. But you have control over how you react to the things that happen in your life. Do you think you're the only person whose car broke down? Do you think you're the only person whose boyfriend or girlfriend left them? Do you think you're the only person who's having trouble at work? Do you think you're the only person who's struggling at a subject in school, who's being picked on social media? Those things happen to everybody. And we all have the ability to control our reaction to those situations when they occur. And we have to remind ourselves of that over and over and over again. I had no choice is not a phrase that should be in your vocabulary because you always have a choice. You might have two shitty choices, but you always have a choice. And you need to choose the path that's going to get you towards your goals and get you to what you want to achieve in your life. So you got to remind yourself of that. I have control over how I react to things. You don't have to sit and obsess about things. You don't have to let it ruin your weekend. You don't have to let it ruin your day. You know, if you, let's say you work retail and someone is rude to you, okay, deal with it, compartmentalize it, and move on. If you work retail, let's say you interact with 200 people during the day, and 3 of them are bad interactions with people. That means 197 times you interacted with people in a positive way. Why dwell on those 3? You have a choice. Choose not to do it. Literally choose not to do it. Choose to reframe your mind and focus on the things that are beneficial for you, that give you positive energy, that give you the desire and the wherewithal to keep moving forward. So let's always remember that. We have control over how we react to things. We always have control of our reaction. We might choose to not take that control, and that in of itself is a choice. But you have a choice. And remember that. You're choosing to act or react the way that you are because it's a choice. Okay, number 2, you are not a victim. Get it out of your head. So many people want to be a victim. They did that because I'm rich. They did that because I'm poor. They did that because I'm black, because I'm white, because I'm Asian, because I'm Hispanic. They did it because I'm a man. They did it because I'm a woman. They did it because I'm tall. They did it because I'm short. They did it because I'm Irish. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You are not a victim. Quit acting like a victim. Quit looking for people to blame. Don't blame anyone for anything, even if they clearly wronged you. You've got to learn to compartmentalize that stuff and move past it. It does you absolutely no good. You're wasting valuable time and energy and resources crying in your beer, whining about your situation, and playing the victim when you could be applying those resources towards productive and useful systems or processes or activities that will help you get to where you want to be. So you got to get that victim mentality out of your head. You are not a victim. Go back. We did one episode where we went through people like there was a guy that was born with no arms and no legs. And this guy has built a great career for himself. He's a motivational speaker. He learned how to golf. He learned how to surf. This guy has no arms and no legs. Remember that. We did, the little girl in, she's a woman now, but when she was a little girl in Afghanistan, the Taliban shot her in the head on her way to school. And she recovered from that. And not only did she recover from it, she went on to become a powerful voice in the women's rights movement across the world. So you don't have it worse than her. Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years for his political beliefs and refusing to be quiet about his political beliefs, which proved to be legitimate, right? He was protesting apartheid, where a minority population controls and holds back a majority population. And for that, he was in prison for 27 years. You have it worse than him? You don't. We know you don't. So you're not a victim. Stop thinking like it. Stop acting like it. Get it out of your vocabulary. Get it out of your head. Completely unuseful. Next, and this one's tough for people. Almost everything you know to be true will be proven wrong or incomplete in the future. So we all think we're all so smart. I'm not excluding myself from any of these statements. We all fall victim to these types of things, and they're self-inflicted. So we think we know X, whatever X is. And then somewhere down the road, X is proven partially wrong, or there's scenarios in which X is not true or not right. And we're also certain that we have the answers. We're also certain that we're experts on a particular subject. And the reality is you're not. Nobody ever knows everything. And the minute you start thinking that you know everything, you're in deep shit. Like, it's just really, really problematic. So running joke for me that I tell people, it's too bad you didn't know me when I was 20. And some of you did know me when I was 20 because we grew up together. And you can vouch for me on this. I was so smart, I knew everything. You didn't have to ask me, I would just tell you. I thought I was the smartest guy in the world. I thought I had all the answers. And it turns out, as I've gotten older, I've realized I don't know nothing. There's tons and tons of stuff out there that I know nothing about. And so a regular default for me, I did this on a call last week with a vendor. They said, on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how much you know about our product. And I said 0. Like I can spell the name of your company. That's what I know. So you're going to have to educate me like I know nothing about it because I know nothing about it. So you've got to get into that mindset that ask questions, absorb information, get resources to help you when you need it because you're going to need it a lot. But if you think you know everything and you think you've got all the answers, it's really difficult to get people to engage with you because nobody likes a know-it-all. And you're wrong, by the way. We're all wrong, by the way. Look at COVID. How many people were certain about masks, about kids not going to school, about vaccines stopping the spread of the virus, about social distancing, staying 6 feet away was imperative to stopping the spread, none of which proved to be driven by any science. And it's just false. There's been no demonstrative studies that show that any of those things are actually effective the way they were explained. And the same thing could be said for other situations, but I think that's a glaring one that pops into our mind. So, there was a long period of time where we thought the Earth was the center of the universe. Turns out not close, not even close to being true. The Earth was flat, not true. All sorts of things that you can point to throughout history that shows you don't know everything, and what you think you know probably isn't 100% accurate. So keep that in mind. Be inquisitive. Be curious. Try to find more information to help you make decisions because it's going to leave you in a better spot. Okay, number 4. No one cares about you or your problems. I can't stress this enough. Nobody gives a shit. So we spend so much time doing things or trying to make things look a certain way to make people think a certain way about us, and they don't care. They don't care. I'm teaching my wife to golf, and she's worried a lot of times on the course that somebody is going to look at her and judge her. And I told her, nobody cares. They're all worried about their own game. Have you ever seen guys? Because it's mostly men that golf. I mean, it's great when there's women out there, and I'm all for it. I'm all about it. And I love that my wife is golfing because it allows me to spend that time with her, which is awesome. But it's mostly men on courses. How many times are guys sitting on tee boxes working on their swing or drinking a beer? They don't give a shit about what you're doing. They're not paying any attention to you. Other than my wife's attractive, so I'm sure they're looking at her because she's a good-looking lady. But nobody cares. Nobody cares about you or your issues or your problems. Hell, you don't even care about you or your issues or your problems most of the time. You obsess over one or two little things, and you've got all this other stuff you have control over that could make your life better, that could make your life more meaningful, that could bring you happiness, that could bring you fulfillment, and you don't focus on those things because you focus on the 2 or 3 things that, for whatever reason, have wormed their way into your brain and have controlled your thought process because you're allowing it to happen. So keep that in mind. Don't do things to impress other people. Don't do things to make other people like you intentionally. Like, just be who you are, and the right group of people will wind up in your circle because you're going to wind up with people who are like you. And if they're being who they are, then you're going to wind up with good and meaningful and deep relationships. And that's great. But if you're fake, if you're phony, there's a reason that Hollywood marriages don't last, right? Those folks by nature are acting a lot, and that's their job. Like, it's not a value judgment. They literally get paid to be someone else, to act like they're someone else. I think it'd be really hard to be in a relationship with a person who consistently does that. Like, I'm just me. That's who I am. It's either good enough or it's not. And I'm okay with that. I became okay with that a long time ago. And I think it's one of the reasons why I've been in a successful marriage for 30 plus years, why I've got good relationships with my kids. I've got good relationships with family members. I think it's because I am who I am. And not everyone likes me. I have family members who I rub the wrong way sometimes. And that's okay. That's okay. They're entitled to their opinion. They're not even wrong. I'm not even saying they're wrong. They're entitled to think what they think about who I am. That's okay. It's not my place to step in and try to change their mind or win them over. It's either good enough or it's not good enough. So keep that in mind. Nobody cares. All this time you spend trying to impress people or make them think a certain way, it ain't working. It's not working. Just be yourself. That's all you can be. Okay, and then the last one, and we say this a lot, super important, got to keep this front of mind. 100 years from now, we will all be dead, and none of this will matter at all. And I'll give you an example. Without looking at your calendar, so today is November 24th. Without looking at your calendar, tell me what you did on October 24th. Yeah, you can't do it. I can't. I don't know what I did on October 24th. And I was there. I did it. It's my life. There's no one that cares more about your life than you. I don't know what happened a month ago in my own life. What did you have for breakfast 2 weeks ago? Well, fuck, who knows? I don't know. You don't know. 100 years from now, none of this is going to matter. We spend so much time thinking about and worrying about what other people think or how they're going to react or what are they going to say or what are they going to do. Go drive by a graveyard sometime, and all those people had families and lives and jobs and activities and things that were important to them, and then it all just stops. It all just stops when we pass on. It all goes away. You don't know anything about them, how they existed. Were they good? Were they not good? Were they rich? Were they poor? Were they black? Were they white? You don't know because they're in the ground. You literally don't know. So that's a good way to think about, hey, I'm making a way bigger deal of this than it actually is because in the grand scheme of things, none of this is going to matter 100 years from now. Literally none of it. So that should be very freeing to you. That should be very clear to you. And it should be very motivating to you to say, hey, I can do literally whatever I want because it doesn't matter. 100 years from now, we're all going to be gone. Nobody's going to know anything about you or your existence. And that's just how it is. Like, if you don't like that, sorry, it's the truth. That's why we call them the 5 hard truths. So, I think it's just very important to keep all those things in mind because it's going to ground you in reality. It's going to help you kind of calm your mind and tackle situations that may seem challenging, but you got to tell yourself, look, this isn't going to matter. Even hell, 6 months from now, it's not going to matter. A year from now, it's not going to matter. So you got to remain calm. You got to remain fact-based. Don't let emotions drive your decisions. Don't let emotions drive your reactions. Get control of those things and take control of the things you do have control in your life because you have control of a lot of things in your life. You're just refusing to take it, which is what's causing you the problems or the anxiety that you're feeling. So there we go, guys. 5 hard truths. Hope you find those helpful. We think about those things pretty frequently, to be honest. And I think it's very important. It's one of the ways we stay grounded. It helps us really keep perspective when we're in tough situations. And look, I'm the CEO of a company. I've got a lot of pretty big responsibilities in the grand scheme of things. But again, 100 years from now, nobody's going to remember any of this. So that's something I tell myself a lot when I'm having to deal with really hard or challenging stuff. And I hope it's helpful for you guys. So don't forget, James puts it up over here every episode. So go to our website, saltygingertalk.com. We've got links to all of our social media content on there. We've got all of our podcast episodes available on there. And we also have a newsletter that we publish every weekday that you can subscribe to on our website. So also, please like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. It's very helpful for us to have folks subscribed to our channel. So appreciate you guys checking us out. Hope you found this valuable. Everybody have a great week. We're heading into Thanksgiving week. And if you're traveling, travel safe. And we'll see you on the next episode, guys.